Welcome to episode number 2 of Build Mode. No pipeline? No problem. In this segment, I want to talk a little bit about the light bulb moment of why Ownwell and why I wanted to build my next mortgage practice on that platform or on that foundation. And I mean, the truth is I've been following HomeBot in the US since they started. When I was with Carter Zimmerman at Finmo, my co-founder, he lived in Denver, and HomeBot is from Denver. So we met them, we knew their story, we knew them early on, 7, 8 years ago. And so I knew that program pretty good. And in fact, truthfully, Carter and I spoke about building the Canadian HomeBot for a few years, like quite often. We just always had other competing priorities. So I was a fan. I knew about it. I watched them grow. And so I had a lot of interest in that time. When it became clear to me that I wanted to start up a new mortgage practice, I knew that was going to be the key. And I was always going to go all in with Ownwell, despite whether or not this YouTube series happened. In fact, I was already building the new mortgage practice, and I wanted to be involved in this before even the concept of doing this YouTube series came about. So I liked the idea of not chasing deals, particularly with realtors, but chasing databases. That was the key concept. I think probably the core concept. I remember a year or so ago, I listened to a podcast on Peckford's I Love Mortgage Brokering, and there was a guy, I forget his last name, but Wally something, talking about how he had built 20-some thousand people on HomeBot, and it clicked. And I remember thinking, wait, that actually seems like it's doable. And so I thought, okay, I think that's the key, because if I can get that many people where I'm managing their mortgage, the math and the odds are in my favor. And I'll do a much faster growth rate with way less effort than I would in any other way of thinking about how to build a mortgage practice. So for those of you who already have a vibrant mortgage practice, and maybe it's plateaued a bit, or maybe you're stalling and maybe that's why you're here, I would go all in on getting your past clients into Ownwell. It's now business right now. So you've got an added advantage over me. I got no pipeline, no database, nothing to start from. And so I would do all of that. I would just go all in on that's the next quarterly project to make that happen, because it's so compelling. Also though, I would be looking to see where can I go find databases, not chase deals, chase databases. So, you know, as it comes to realtors, we've known for years that realtors struggle, maybe more than we do, on database management, on, providing value to their customers. And they know that. So when you show them Ownwell, I think the response is going to be dramatic. And again, one of the other reasons why I love this idea so much is because I didn't have to prove whether or not Ownwell will work, because I already know that HomeBot worked. So that's a huge, huge sort of foundation to build from, because we try all kinds of marketing ideas, we try all kinds of software services to help grow our business, but we don't know for sure that they're going to work. This one's different. I do know for sure that it's going to work. And so, there's realtors, I think, are looking for new ideas to engage their customers. And that's the bet I'm making. I've said this a few times, maybe even said it a few times on this series, but not that long ago I read a book by Jeff Bezos, and one of his famous quotes, he's got a lot of them, but he said, I focus on the things that'll never change. And when I thought about that, like applying it to this business, or even in my coaching practice with other founders, that's a core question. What are the things that are never going to change? Well, in our business, the things that will never change is the market will change, the interest rates go up and down, the overall sentiment of the market and the trajectory of rates changes all the time, and people's lives change all the time. And I wanted to be at the intersection of those two things forever, as long as I could. So again, back to those of you who have clients that you've done their mortgages and you're working with them, You want to increase the likelihood that you get the next deal by being there. And let's face something that's real challenge for all of us in the market today. At-term renewals are becoming significantly problematic. You know, as we've always dealt with, the incumbent lender has a significant advantage, but it seems like today the incumbent lenders have an enormous advantage. And so I already know that the closer I get to term renewal with my past clients who love me, or for sure with adopted clients, my chances go down. So I need to increase my chances at midterm renewals. When the market changes and there's an opportunity for them to save money, and then you tack on a debt consolidation or a mortgage wealth management plan where they can save, you know, look at their overall financial wellness, that's where I can increase the chances of winning. And I can only do that if I built trust throughout the time. They've got 12 emails, 16 emails from me showing me the value of what my management will do and highlighting when they can save money. That's the core of this idea. As well as the new purchases, new people coming into the business, I need to have a way to compel them to pick me. And often, even in the face of when other competing lenders are offering much better rates. And so the idea of selling them that I'm going to manage their mortgage, like actually really manage their mortgage, and show them the actual digest report and show them when it's going to be particularly advantageous for them. We're not going to miss that opportunity for you to consider saving money and moving. That helps me win deals up front. So that's another really, really important thing. So, I mean, for years, I've been coaching mortgage brokers and founders, and I've found that I'd said 15 plus years ago that adopting mortgages was a key strategy. So it was always part of what I thought was the best way to do business. But at the time I was doing that, the technology wasn't great. What was I going to adopt your mortgage and do what? Send you some emails and maybe give you some good ideas? I couldn't really actually purposefully, even trying to do annual reviews with adopted mortgages were really challenging. So although the ideas were always sound, the execution was challenging. Not anymore. And that's what I loved about Ownwell. And so the math that I'm working with, the hypothesis that I'm trying to prove is for every 1,000 clients that I get into Ownwell that I'm providing a full mortgage digest for, or real estate digest, whatever they call it, I think that in today, right now, where we are in this market, about 15% of those people will become leads. Right now, they have an opportunity to save money. And of those, I'm shooting for closing 25% of them. Both of those, I think, are conservative. The product of those two things ends up being your lead to fund ratio, which is 3 3/4%. So of 1,000 clients, I get 38 deals. That 38 deals would turn into something like $175,000 or so, $175,000, $200,000 in commission, and it would cost me $6,000 to deliver that service to those 1,000 people. That math worked. That math makes sense to me. Now, if I can prove that that math is true, just go all in. Like, why would I stop at 1,000 people? You get 100,000 people. And so that's where it crystallized. That's where I said, this is the way that I'm going to do it. So I guess, like I said, flipping the script is, if I was starting this business, or if I'm renovating a business, for some of you who may have plateaued or are looking for a new way to get past this current struggle we have with the market and competition, then the one way is to chase realtors, beg them for business, and all of that. But here's what I thought about that. I think I've already said this before on the previous episode or another time, where it just makes no sense to me if I'm building a new mortgage practice or I'm renovating an existing practice and freshening it up, that I wouldn't do that on the foundation of a good realtor business. I think I've said that, and if I haven't, let me be clear that that's what should happen. And so, however, what's the pitch? So today, when I thought about this prior to actually getting going, what am I going to say to realtors? Like, I can come up with great ideas, I can come up with strategies, I can come up with ways that show that I'm better than the next person down the line, but the reality, the truth, and actually probably the reason why a lot of mortgage professionals struggle, and resist working with realtors is because it's not good enough. I mean, particularly for me, I was wanting to shoot for medium to high producing realtors, and they already have relationships, because if they're successful in the real estate business, then they've been using lots of different mortgage professionals. And so I was already always going to be playing from the backup goalie position, which is fine. I was okay with that. I could provide value, I could hang out in the backup goalie, and eventually I get my shot. That's the pitch. That's really the best case scenario if I'm chasing realtors. And then it becomes a different numbers game. Then it becomes talk to 100 realtors, hopefully get 15 or 20 that resonate with my message. And of those, you know, maybe there's 2 or 3 that don't have a starting goalie, and then the rest I'm a backup goalie. And then it just takes time. Shooting videos, giving them mortgage minutes, helping them out, being available. And then eventually I get my shot. And that's fine. That's a strategy. But it's going to take too long, or it's going to take longer than I wanted. And so I like the idea of just getting their database and offering value. So the pitch that I'm working on for realtors is value, 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 ask. So instead of ask, give value, I want to be able to say, before we even talk about me being the backup goalie on your team, I want to bring you some immense value. I want to show you that I can help your business. And I've been using this with my coaching clients for years, and it's effective. And so I wanted to be in a place where if I got Realtor to give me his or her database, let's just call it 300 people, 250 people, whatever the number is, and if that's all I ever got from them, like I never was able to get them to like me enough or want to replace their current mortgage provider, I would be okay with that. If that's true, then this made this strategy even better. I'll just go talk to 100 realtors and get 40 databases, and if that's all I ever get from them, I'm a winner. But if I got 40 databases with 200 people, that's 8,000 clients. Go back to the math, 8,000 clients, 15% of them are, you know, going to be a potential opportunity, which is, what is that, 960 leads. Of those, you know, or let's call it 4%. 4% of 8,000 leads is 300 deals. So that's compelling. Now, I realize we've not yet proven the math, but I don't care, fine. Take 25% of my math, 8,000 people, 300 deals, 25% of that is 50 or 60 deals. 60 deals, $4,500, call it $5,000 in commission for easy math, that's $300,000 in commission from just going and getting those 8,000 clients from the realtors with no other business. All day long, I'll take that deal. And so, but what I also know is true is that in that example I just gave, I'm still going to get some of these realtors who are going to be excited about Ownwell and are going to be impacted and going to be happy that I brought this value to them. And I think I'm going to drive business to them. They're going to actually give me a shot at the backup goalie position, and they're going to give me a shot to start. They're going to give me the shot to take the net. They're going to give me the shot to be the #1 mortgage provider for them. So now, take that analogy. It's a time thing. If it takes me a year to get 8,000 clients from realtors, let's just say, I'm making this shit up. If that's what's true, and I just told you that even if 25% of success of my math, which let's call it 1% conversion on 8,000 clients, is 80 deals. So 80 deals is going to be, you know, in that case, it's $480,000 in commission. So whatever, the math works, 1% conversion, and you know, at some point. But on top of that, I also let the time nurture my resume or my application to be the backup goalie and to be their second provider and get the shot at being the #1 provider. I think that takes months. I think that takes some time. And so while I'm building the database and getting the clients there, I'm also getting the value of being able to build a stronger foundation. So we look out a year from now, and of those 40 realtors that I'm dealing with adopted their databases, maybe 10 or 15 of these higher value realtors are actually picking me as their starting goalie, which now means 10 of those people give me 15 deals a month. That's a new 150 deals. So that's the math. Look out. That's what I'm thinking about. So, remember again, I would just be at a place where I would just be happy to take the database if that's all I get. Yes, it worked. What a great meeting. It's been a while since I've been in one of those kind of meetings, and it's just great. So let me talk a little bit about how I prep for these meetings, and in this particular case, what did I actually say? So typically when I'm prepping for a big meeting like this, I start like in the morning or on the way here. I want to get grounded. I want to be really clear on what is my objective, what's my intention, what am I trying to get? Like a strong why. And in this case, I really thought it through, and I wanted to be sure that I was focused and clear, because when I show up with not that pre-work done or that grounding and really thinking it through, I'm going to be scattered, I'm going to be rambling, I'm going to be all over the place, and it just doesn't work out. So what's another couple of tricks that I like to use? In this case, I didn't, because I had it really dialed. I knew what the content was going to be, but sometimes I'll use a slide deck so it keeps me a little bit going. Now, it's a bit awkward, obviously, doing a slide deck in a coffee shop with a bunch of people around, so that's not ideal. So then what I might do is then I'll write my notes. Like if there's more for me to cover, I'm gonna write some notes. And then when I get up to the meeting, I'm just like, hey, I got my notebook here, I wanna be able to take some notes. But it also allows me to look at and catch the points that I wanted to make sure I hit in this particular meeting. Now in this case, I showed up with one thing, a clear offer. Adopt their database, nurture their past clients, and create value without asking them to send me any business right now. This was foreign to me. This is not how I've ever done it before. I'm always looking for the angle about how can I get some business today, and this was different. But I wanted to try it. I showed them my open rates. I showed them the engagement that we get. We reviewed one of the Ownwell reports, a sample report, so that I could really show him what that looks like, and I could feel his energy changing, particularly when we talked about engagement rates, past clients, how do we get people to keep us top of mind. That came off really well. And then I built some credibility by bringing in the HomeBot story. I like doing this a lot because I said something like, the good news about all of this is that we don't actually have to prove whether or not this is going to work, because that's already been proven. Let me tell you about HomeBot. And then I go into it, like tens of thousands of realtors and mortgage professionals over the last 7 or 8 years have come into HomeBot, and there's only one reason why that growth rate would have happened, is because it works. And so once I tied that up, then I went on to a story. I like to say, one of my favorite lines is, people buy stories, not stuff. In this case, I borrowed a story from one of my friends who shared an Ownwell story with me, where he had a person getting an Ownwell report and opting in to, I'd like to buy another house, which is great for the realtors, pulling demand forward. And so what happened in this case was, the real story was, guys was divorced a few years ago, had to move and find a house. The only house he could afford was about 30 minutes from his kids. And so that's just the way it was. And he'd always wanted to be moving or do something that was closer to his kids. But let's face it, when life is doing what life is doing, he's not sitting here trying to figure out, well, what can I afford? What can I buy? All this stuff. He gets a report, comes in and says, hey, you can afford, whatever the number was, $800,000 house. Bam, it hits him with life is changing. And so he reaches out to the mortgage professional. Sure enough, did an evaluation, did the qualification. He can qualify. So now that lead came back to the realtor that he got that database from, and now they sold the house and bought another house. Within 30 days, he was living 2 minutes from his kids. What a great story. And I tell that story because it connects the emotion to it. And now the realtor was really like, wow, okay, that's possible for me. Then I like to tie in something like, what a gift you could give to your past clients. If one of these people are out there thinking about, they want to make a change in their life, but they have no idea what they can do. Or what if you have some past clients who have bought in the last few years, and there's an opportunity for them to save a significant amount of money if in fact they can renegotiate at lower rates today. Those two things really hit home, because now the realtor's sitting here going, yeah, what if that's true? I told them about like percentages that I'm looking for. Approximately 15% of the people we upload should have some kind of a opportunity to consider refinancing. But I tie it in as what a gift you could give to your past clients. So tied into how it would feel for him to give that gift to his clients. Okay, then I went into, this was the kicker. I actually enrolled him personally. Now this is a bit dicey because you gotta, want to assume he has a mortgage. So it's just like, well here, what would be the best is for you to be able to see this in real time for you with your house. Do you happen to have a mortgage right now, or just frame it in such a way that it sounds like you're being doubtful, like he's so rich and he probably doesn't have a mortgage, but whatever, let's just get to it. And so in this case, he's like, yeah, let's do it. So I right on the spot, live, and I enroll all of his information into Ownwell, click the button. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wait, I gotta make, what happens the value is so off with this his house? Yeah, that's a risk of doing this step, but it's a risk worth taking. Because even if that's true, it handles the objection of what happens when the borrower sees a value that's not quite right. If the value's not quite right, it adds engagement for you, the realtor. So thankfully in this case, the value did come in what he thought was a reasonable number for his house. Here's the best part. He had an opportunity to save. He was coming off of a 3-year mortgage. He's halfway through it. I can't remember, 5.95, I think it was. And he had the opportunity to save. It was $7,000 or something. Now, that immediately became a lead for me because he's actually thinking about that. Then we started talking a little bit about the mortgage wealth management plan. I'm like, this is so good. You get to see exactly how your borrowers would experience my service. So they get the Ownwell report, they see an opportunity to save, they're engaged. And now we talk about what are other things. Is there a debt consolidation? Is there some taking out equity and investing it in real estate, or is there investing in other types of investments? Is that an opportunity for you? Let me build a report to show you that. So this is what we went through. At this point, he's hook, line, and sinker. It went so well. He was very engaged, very interested. Just being able to run the meeting like I just told you sealed the deal. Here's the best part. He says, I want to put all my clients in here. I got 10 years of past clients. I'm like, whoa. Let's focus on the last 5 years or so. And then he said, okay. I asked him, well, how much do you think that is? And he says, it's probably about 500. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yes, score. Okay, great. Remember what I said before. If all I ever get from a 45-minute coffee meeting is a 500-person database that I've now adopted and I have an opportunity to generate business out of it, I'm good. I'm happy. Now, the truth is, I probably will get this guy to send me some business, but I'm going to let it be patient. This is something I've never done before. This build mode idea is chasing databases, not leads. The leads will come. And so my plan for him is get the data, get it into Ownwell, get a bit of an experience, and then I'll ask him for business. Oh, I forgot one more thing, really important in here. I also tied in the law of reciprocity at the end. After I knew I had them, after we were talking about the 500 people, I said, remember what I said in my original email, this is my commitment to you. I'm going to make the initial investment in this business together. So 500 people is going to cost me $3,000 for the year, and I'm prepared to make that investment in your business right now. He was a bit floored. He didn't offer to split it, but I think he was thinking about it, and that's okay. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. A $3,000 investment in what's going to become what I think 500 people, if the math holds true, you remember what we said earlier, approximately 3 to 4%, let's use 3%. That's 15 deals. That's a $60,000 return for a 45-minute meeting with a $3,000 investment. Done. I'll do it all day long. Now, we got to make sure those numbers will hold, but even if it's half, I'd still do a $30,000 return on a $3,000 investment. So anyway, the point here is that I now have set the law of reciprocity. He now knows subtly and unconsciously, or maybe even consciously, he owes me. And if this pulls off and he likes it and we get the first email out and we get some engagement, he now knows, wow, this has been a great thing for my business, and he's put in $3,000. What do you think he's going to do? Trust me, I will remind him of this when we get to the meeting, and that'll come up in a future episode where I now ask him to send me some business. Because I've made my investment, I delivered on all the value I said I was going to do. Now it's your turn. Give me some business. So anyway, great meeting. really good result. And yes, 2 meetings with realtors under the new pitch, and 2 out of 2, success. This particular meeting started with a realtor team, two guys, and they brought their buyers, agents, and 1 other realtor to the lunch. So the bill was bigger, but the reality, the truth is, 1 of the realtors left 3/4 of the way through the lunch. They're busy. So I don't know how that went and the compelling part about that. But hey, the 2 guys that I originally targeted, big producers, probably I think they were about an 80 end a year type realtors. Perfect for what I'm looking for, perfect for the partnership, business-minded people. They got it. They really did get it. And I tried something different in this particular meeting than I did on the previous one at the coffee shop. In this one, I actually thought, I'm gonna see how it resonates to actually show more of a traditional standard mortgage broker pitch. Let me tell you all the cool things that we do. And so I think that was, I gotta think about it a little bit more, but based on the 2 end results and the reactions that I got, and the objections I got, they were more objections and more uncomfortableness. Could have been me just trying to, clunking my way through a new pitch, but the truth is it just didn't resonate, the part, about you should pick me as a mortgage broker. So anyways, why don't I go through kind of like step by step what I said there, because I think it's important. I've got a slide deck that I can share with you, but let me just kind of walk through that. Okay, so I'm just looking at my slide deck. Like I said, there'll be a link in the description. You can get this, I'll give it to you just because I think it's interesting for you. But we started out with Ownwell. So I did start with what I wanted to do in this particular pitch. I was able to get on the spot 1 of the partners to give me their information, and bang, we just produced an Ownwell report right on the spot. I showed them the sample reports. I showed them my report because my report has the mortgage information on it as well and the savings for that. So that went well. Like that, it just clicked. It's just like the first one, just like the coffee meeting, they loved it. So when I talked about the open rates, me being north of 60% on open rates, north of 50% on click-through rates, jaw drop, hit the table. And then I focused on, the angle was what a gift you could bring to your customers if we load all your database in there, and my math, I shared the math. I said, I think there's 15% of instant opportunities for people to save money, just like this one. And I showed an example of one. And so that was like, what a gift you could bring to your customers. That connected, they got that. So that was really good. Then we scrolled through, I showed a bunch of different things about Ownwell. And then I pivoted it to, this is the investment I'm going to make in your business. I thought this was a really good anchoring script to use. Like, instead of, hey, I'm a mortgage broker, give me deals, this is me saying, hey, I'm a business person and I'm going to invest in your business. And I've always had a core belief in my selling strategy that it's not for me to get you to want what I have. I have mortgages, that's easy. What I really want is for you to believe what I believe. And I believe in strong partnerships. I believe that I go out of my way to help you in your business, you then go out of your way to help me in my business. And so that philosophy I nailed home with this idea of the investment I'm making in your business before we've even started. So I laid out, if you give me 500 clients into Ownwell, which is what they said they could do, by the way, well, that's going to end up costing me 50 cents roughly per client per month, $6 per year at 500 clients. That's $3,000. I'm done. I'm going to do it. I'm going to just, first year, I'm investing in that for you. This is a decision I made. Lots of different mortgage brokers out there are saying, hey, you split the cost with me or you pay. I just decided that the math is just too compelling. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm hoping that I'm not. But if the math is right, I don't care. $3,000 to get 500 clients in, and remember the math, if I get 3.75% conversion on that, that's, let's call it, make easy, that's 20 deals. 20 deals at my commission, it's 100 grand. $3,000 investment to get 100 grand, all day long, no problem. So if I'm wrong and it's half of that, $3,000 to get $50,000, still a deal I would do. You know, I would go as much as 10x. So a $30,000 return on a $3,000 investment is kind of the minimum I would think I would want to go with. And I think that's pretty compelling. Like, I think that's doable. So anyway, I nailed home I'm going to, right out of the gate, before we've done anything, before we've actually been business partners, and before I'm going to spend $3,000 and manage those clients for a year. That landed hard. I can see it. They were like, wow, no other mortgage broker has ever done that. Come here with open checkbook and make an investment in my business. I also came up with an idea totally off the cuff, see how it would land. I, in fact, asked them, this is a new thing I've just dreamed up. What do you think? And I said, if you give me 7 deals funded, I'll pay $2,500 towards a business or personal retreat or development at my expense. I just totally made that up. I think I made that up the day before the pitch. And I said that to them. I said, what do you think? And they actually liked it. You know, so I thought, okay, well, if I get 7 deals that out of their deals, like that they refer, I think I'll make that more clear. I want to say that 7 deals you refer. That's going to be about a $35,000, $40,000 in gross commission on a $2,500 investment all day long. And the truth is once they've given me 7, they end up giving me 10, they end up giving me 12. I send them on, you know, to a education course or something, or just a personal retreat, a holiday, go away. And next year they want to hit that again, or they want to give me deals again. So that's where I came from, and I liked it. I think I'm going to keep that. Then we talked, this is where it transitioned more into a traditional mortgage broker pitch. Here's what I would say, here's what we offer. I was trying to anchor this idea that as a realtor, let's say, for example, as a mortgage broker, what I'm trying to do is get increase my conversion of deals to the number of leads I get. So as a realtor, I think what I want to do is have as least amount of showings, the lower number of showings to get a deal. And that actually connected, so that was good. So then that was, you know, make sure that anchor, that connection happens. And then I said, well, here's how I do it. We create confident, educated buyers. I walk through the tools that I use. I showed them examples of those tools. So I use Tactical Mortgage Solutions. I use guaranteed approvals through our Compare My Offers. And then I use Compare My Offers. And I also, what else did I show? Yeah, I think I showed in the Tactical Mortgage Solutions, there's also a calculator to show, well, what happens if you did a purchase plus improvements, so that if you show somebody a house, but it's not quite exactly the way they want it, but it would only need like a $10,000 or $15,000 renovations up front so that they could love the house, and that before they write, so you don't have to show them again. That landed, that worked. And so now, after saying all of that though, again, interestingly enough, the pushback was, and I get a sense that it's maybe because it's like, oh, here we go, mortgage broker telling me a bunch of their stuff that they do. Was nowhere near as effective as the starting of the meeting with the Ownwell. So I'm going to think about it some more, but I actually think when I'm pitching realtors, I might just go with what I did at the coffee shop, brand new realtor, just pitch them Ownwell, and then I'll pitch this stuff later, which I'm applying for the job as the backup goalie. So, okay, so this was it, the real test. Not a one-on-one pitch, but a table full of sharp realtors hearing it cold. I didn't oversell. I showed the system, I showed the benefits, and then shut up. And when I finished, they started asking, when can we start? I walked in with nothing, and I walked out with over 500 clients, adopted clients that they're willing to give. So in that meeting, they committed to, yeah, I'm putting all my clients into this program. I love it that much. So that's a lot of momentum in a single week, and that's just the beginning. Now, I got to get these clients into Ownwell and start driving opt-ins. That's what's next. Man, I'm so grateful for this park. Ed Wither Park in Calgary is a gem for the city. It's 5 minutes from my house. I spend a lot of time here, 12 months of the year. And it never used to be like that. But I now prioritize these types of things in my life. I need to have the break. I'm focused on not just the physical aspect of walking, 2.5, 3 miles, but just the idea of getting outside, getting into nature. And I make time for this. There was a time in my previous builds and a previous dog where my wife had to carry the whole burden because I was too busy. And then I regret that, because now I'm out here 5 to 7 days a week, 12 months of the year, and it's good for me. And I'll take some walking meetings if I need to. If I happen to have a busier day and I just don't want to sacrifice going out for my walk and decompressing, I'll sometimes listen to a podcast, and sometimes just come out here with just me and just think and relax. And it's a priority. So speaking of gratitude, I'm super grateful for our sponsors for Build Mode. Ownwell is, the next great thing. It's obvious to you that I'm a big fan, and that I think it is the thing that will give mortgage brokers the edge going forward. It gives us something meaningful and something I think that we can provide value to past clients and to other people's past clients. Like, I'm really grateful for Ownwell. And Lendesk. Obviously, I use Finmo. It's the best mortgage origination software out there. I use Lender Spotlight daily. And here's what I like the most. I trust the people at Finmo. I trust the leadership at Finmo and at Lendesk. And I trust, more importantly, the people that are there, because I know that they're always a few steps ahead of where I'm going. And I trust them to help me. I love what I'm hearing about what they're working on for the future of AI. As I think about AI, I try not to get too far into the weeds on it. I just want to trust the people that are building things that are going to help me. I want to stay on the front edge of AI. I don't want to be playing catch up 12 months from now. So I like knowing that the team at Finmo is thinking about those things, and can't wait to see what they come up with. But I put my trust in them and my business. And so super grateful for the sponsors. And you know what? I'm super grateful for you. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for watching. And make sure you hit the like and the subscribe buttons. It helps the channel, but more importantly, it lets you know when the next episodes drop. And so make sure you do that. Thanks. Okay, well, I'm just back from my dog walk. And while I was thinking, I thought I wanted to share something real before we wrap this episode. When we finished episode 1, I thought I'd feel proud, maybe even relieved. But what I actually felt was scared. Deep in my bones, frozen kind of scared. The kind that sneaks in quietly, and suddenly, I can't move. Later that night, my old friend anxiety showed up, and right behind it, darkness. I didn't even see it coming, because this wasn't just a video anymore. It was a commitment. In public, a declaration. I'm starting over again, and now you're all watching. And it could fail. And then my knee flared up out of nowhere. I've been training hard for this first marathon, pushing for a big personal goal, and suddenly I couldn't run at all. I could barely walk down the stairs. And I was 2 weeks out from my marathon. I'd been training for 6 months. I don't think this was any coincidence. This, I choose to believe, was a metaphor for me to pay attention to a path. I was creating a pattern that I was repeating again. I do hard things. I set driving goals and targets to try to prove to myself my worthiness. That's some old programming. That moment cracked something open, and I was on some shaky ground, because I wasn't just afraid I'd miss the race. I was afraid I couldn't live up to the image that I'd built about me. I was afraid I wouldn't succeed. Success looked like beating my time goal in my very first marathon. I was amazed at the timing of my knee setback and the feelings that were coming real about building this new business. What if I can't keep up? What if I'm not as strong or as sharp or as on it as I used to be? That's when I realized I was stuck in an old loop. That part of me, the one that believes in driving hard, achieving at all costs, proving to others I'm worthy, is the false promise. And it's the way that my ego has attempted all my adult life to prove that this is the only way for me to feel good enough about me. He was back, my shitty roommate in my head. And if you're a founder, maybe you know this too. That quiet fear that if you're not producing, pushing, crushing, grinding, achieving, you're not worthy somehow. I've carried this my entire adult life. Sometimes it fuels me, and for many periods of my career, it served me very, very well, until it doesn't. But when I'm really stretching, the way that I am with this building a new business and documenting it all on this series, that old programming can shake me to my core. I thought I had buried it. I thought I had done the work. But there I was again, quietly among myself, measuring my worth by my output, by how much I strive, chasing validation disguised as goals. Is episode 1 good enough? Will people think it's stupid? Maybe they'll think I'm stupid. Man, that chatter is relentless sometimes. I needed to switch my programming. I am not building to prove something this time, but to express something. To express from who I really am at my core. So, I started journaling again. I pulled out some old anchoring scripts. I asked myself better questions. Not, how do I win? How do I look good? How do I succeed? But what would it look like to build this new business as the real me this time? What if I don't need to prove to myself or anyone else that I'm worthy? Because I already am. What if I build from love, not fear or lack or the requirement to prove something? Not to impress, but to express. Not to hustle for self-worth, but to stand in the fact that I already have it. That's the key right there. Things in my emotional stability loosened when I focused on radical acceptance and doing the inner work. And wouldn't you know it, my knee starts feeling good again and strong. So I'm back running again. Imagine that. Once I accept those funky feelings I was dealing with grace and move through them, my knee starts feeling better. Sure, I was foam rolling, rehabbing, going to ART, slowing down, but I was also breathing deeper, meeting my setback with peace, not frustration and anger like I always have my whole life. Reminding myself this isn't about pace. It's not about hitting a personal record to prove to myself that I still got it. That it is still have the ability to hit impossible goals. It's about truth. The goal isn't to be who I was, it's to become who I already am without fear. Maybe you feel that too. Maybe you're tired of building just to keep up appearances. Maybe you're tired of building so you can buy more stuff, hoping this will loosen up those doubtful feelings deep inside you. Or maybe you're scared to build at all, because what if the real you isn't enough? Maybe you're also at a point in your life where you have reached some success in your business, but it's plateauing a bit, and other parts of your life feel empty and unfulfilling. Maybe after years or decades of grinding, your health is at a crisis. Your relationships have lost meaning, and or your soul and emotional health is in the toilet. Maybe you feel scared, lost, or empty too. I know the feeling. Here's what I want to say. Founder to founder, human to human. If you've built something solid and now your business has stalled a little bit, if your life looks successful but feels off, if you're quietly asking, is this really it? And now you're just sitting in it wondering why it doesn't feel like you thought it would. If it feels like other areas of your life feel empty, I see you. I've been you. And now I'm building with you. I ran my life and business off the cliff the last time I let those overwhelming feelings of lack and I'm not enough become too much for me to bear, and my grinding and driving hard made my life unsustainable. That's why when some of those old feelings crept back in, I was scared. I realized that this was my ego's job to protect me from getting hurt. Protect me by telling me I should slow down or quit so I don't blow it all up again. Because that is a pain my ego knows I do not want to feel again. This time, I'm committed to building from a position of peace and presence, not fear and lack. We are not stuck, despite how it feels when these old programming flows in. You and I are just being called to build from a deeper place. I encourage you not to ignore this calling. And most of all, Together, we believe for maybe the first time ever that we don't have to prove a damn thing. We just have to keep showing up with courage and grace. I'm here with you. Next episode, we move into activation, turning databases into conversations, conversations into momentum. But I needed to say this first, because if you're stuck right now, this moment is yours too. Keep building. Now, let's get back to work. If you want the pitch deck that I used in that lunch meeting and the exact breakdown of how I walked into those meetings ready, then go to the link in the description below and sign up for Build Mode Weekly. Don't forget, you also get to grab the Build Mode Blueprint from episode 1. I'll send you the whole pack this week. And most of all, come join a group of founders where we are supporting each other to build from a place of strength, and not just build our businesses, but build on all the important areas of our life at the same time. In episode 3, we take the next step, turning adoption into activation. I've got the names now. Now it's time to convert. See you on episode 3.